Hi, Andrea, and Brian and Linda, Angelina. Sure, let's start. All right. Welcome, come on in. Welcome to the Wednesday night loving kindness meditation here at the Dharma Bum Temple. My name is Alex. It is wonderful to be here with you this evening. It is nice and cool. I love it. I love it. I'm not supposed to have big preferences, but I do because I'm not enlightened. One of the things that I say, and I think I talked about this last week or the week before, I can't remember, is, one of the most important qualities that you can bring to spiritual practice is your sense of humor. Because even though spiritual practice is, can be a serious thing, you need that sense of humor to kind of make things not so terrible when you fail spectacularly, which you will do in spiritual practice, and this is normal for everybody. I'll give you an example. I went to Nashville on Sunday. I just got back about noon today, and I was there for a conference. It's a conference, and I had to, and I met like the guy who's going to be our new, we're getting purchased, and so I met the guy who's going to be our new CEO. Seems like a cool guy. We had a nice conversation. So next day, I go into like this little like room that we had rented. It has like glass. It's one side where the door is all glass. And I went from the exhibit hall downstairs and was looking at my phone, saw the glass door open, went to the wrong side, and just walked right into the glass. Boom! While they were having some meeting inside. And so I did that. And they had a nice laugh. I had a nice laugh. And that's just what it is, right? I'm supposed to be like mindful and all these different types of things, and I was not mindful at all because I don't walk slow. I'm not a slow walker, I just can't laugh. It's just what it is. So bring your sense of humor with you. You'll need it. All right. How is everybody today? You all right? Awesome. So, is there anyone here at the Dharma Bum Temple for the first time? Nice. Did your friend bring you? Yes. Awesome. Thank you, friend. Is there anyone here, this is not your first time to the temple, but is maybe your first time to Wednesday? Oh, welcome. That's nice. Thank you for coming. And thank you for coming, everyone online who's here. Looks like 8 of you. So for the new people and the new people to Wednesday, when we talk about loving kindness, that's the word that was, they rendered this word into English as loving kindness. And the word they rendered was this word called metta, M-E-T-T-A. And it's from the old Pali language. The Pali language is from about the 3rd century. And when they were, these teachings of the Buddha, after he died in 483 BC or about that, everything was an oral tradition and nothing was written down because everyone was illiterate for the most part. And a very low literacy rate, and it was a very strong oral tradition anyway. But they were eventually written down like 500 years later on palm leaves, and then um, they were rendered into this kind of Pali language, which is a liturgical language. But when you have this word metta, and what it actually means, and you translate it 2,500 years, you can't use one word because it's so all encompassing that you have to use lots of words. And they just chose loving kindness. So you can use that word, and it's perfectly serviceable and fine word to use, but you can also use unconditional friendliness, goodwill, concord, amity, inoffensiveness. And there was this other monk who translated it and used like maybe 30 or 40 different words, and all of those words can be loving kindness. And loving kindness really is a wish for ourselves and others to be happy. And if you want to know what happiness is, try to find out what suffering is. And it's the exact opposite of that. So loving kindness is a wish for ourselves to be happy, a wish for others to be happy, and more importantly, a wish for ourselves and others to do the things that cause happiness. So we kind of know what causes suffering. In the Buddhist tradition, the second noble truth, he tells us what causes suffering. It's grasping and clinging to being, to non-being, to sensual pleasures, anything that the senses can sense. Just grasping and clinging on to those things. And so happiness is letting go of those things. And we do this by our, skillful and well-intentioned thoughts, words, and deeds. The motto of the Dharma Bum Temple is think good thoughts, speak good words, do good deeds. And in a nutshell, those things cause happiness because they don't cause any harm to ourselves. They don't cause any harm to any other being. That's why your loving kindness will never get in the way of somebody else's loving kindness, even your enemy's loving kindness. Because acts that are not harmful or blameless, we call them blameless as well, they don't harm anybody. They don't harm anybody. And so that's what we try to do in this practice of loving kindness. All right. So we're going to do this meditation, and I'm going to kind of go over it first so you're not surprised. So we're going to first spend a few minutes just getting connected to the breath because, even though this is a loving kindness meditation, you always want to maintain about 25% of your attention on the breath. The breath is our anchor. The breath is our home. That place we can always come back to and kind of recenter ourselves. So we're going to do that for the first few minutes, and then we're going to start to do this practice for a benefactor. And loving kindness for a benefactor is anyone who has shown us great love or great kindness. Pretty much anyone other than a romantic partner, but anyone else is pretty much fair game. Anyone who has shown us great love or great kindness is fine. You can have one, you can have 40, they can be living, they can be not living. None of that matters. Just choose somebody or multiple people and do loving kindness for them. And you can do it just by radiating loving kindness to them, and however you understand that word, or just repeating phrases of loving kindness for them, which I'll go over during the meditation. They're really simple phrases. And then once we do that, we're then going to imagine our benefactor doing loving kindness for us. This can be a little bit weird sometimes, but the only thing that we have to do in this part of the meditation is just receive all of their loving kindness. So we already have the memory of their loving kindness in our own hearts, right? So we just need to call that to mind and imagine them just kind of doing this practice for us, and then just receiving all of it, just receiving all of their loving kindness again. And then we'll do loving kindness for ourselves, and then we'll do loving kindness for all beings in all directions. I'll give a little bit more instructions on that when we get there. But essentially, that's what we're going to do. So it should be nice and, the instructions should be relatively simple. And so let me see here. Oh, that's fine. Hello. Just check it on the online, folks. All right. Any questions before we start today? All right. Everybody get ready, get into your meditation position. A nice seated position here. Let's go do this. So just allow your eyes to close, making sure you have that position that's nice and comfortable for you, nice and sustainable so you're not likely to move around too much. And when we sit like a Buddha. And you can even imagine yourselves as a Buddha sitting underneath your own tree of enlightenment. Each Buddha has their own tree of enlightenment, and you can choose any tree that you want. Getting ready for the day's abiding. This is said to be the sublime abiding. By not holding to fixed views, the pure-hearted one, having clarity of vision, being freed from all sense desires, is not born again into this world. So to begin, let's just take a deep breath all the way in and all the way out. At first, not forcing it, letting the breath be quite easy and quite natural. Just following the breath all the way in through the nose. Follow the breath into the heart and into the navel, and then on the exhale from the navel to the heart, out the nose again. Nice and easy and gentle. So just for the next few moments, let's just rest as gently as we can in the sensations of the breath. Now, to begin our formal practice of loving kindness meditation, we're first going to think of our benefactor. And again, a benefactor is anyone who has shown us great love or great kindness, someone that's really easy to have these feelings for. And then picture them in your mind's eye and wishing them happiness, wishing they do the things that cause happiness by either just radiating loving kindness to them, and however you understand that word radiate. Sometimes I like to picture a beam of loving kindness going from my heart to theirs. And this beam can be warm, it could be pulsing, it could be whatever you want it to be. It could be different colors. Or you can just repeat phrases of loving kindness for them. Phrases like, may you be happy. May you be safe from inner and outer danger. May you be well in body and mind. May you be at peace and live at ease in this world. Being very gentle in how you do this. So for the next few moments, we'll do this practice of loving kindness for our benefactor. And now shifting our focus a little from doing this practice for a benefactor to now imagining our benefactor doing this practice for us. It could be the same benefactor, it could be a different one, doesn't matter. You already have the feeling, the memory of their love and kindness in your heart. That experience already rests with you. So when you do this, your only job really is just to receive all of their loving kindness. And if you want, you can put your hand over your heart to make it a little easier. You can smile. Smiling always helps in meditation. If there's any areas of tightness or tension in the body when you're doing this, any part of your heart or any part of the body that says, no, I can't receive all of this, that's okay. Can you just then take a deep breath in and breathe out and just direct the breath into that part of the body, encouraging it just to open just a little. If it does, great. If it doesn't, that's fine. Just keep on doing the practice. So now we'll imagine our benefactor doing this practice for us. And now, shifting our focus again, can we now do this practice of loving kindness for ourselves? First, just call to mind our own wish to be happy, our own wish to be healthy, free from danger, to be at ease in this world. And it's a wish that everyone has for themselves. We may go about it in the wrong ways a lot of times, but it's still something, a wish that everyone has for themselves. So you can either just imagine your heart getting bigger and warmer, kind of like the Grinch. His heart grew 3 sizes, and your heart can grow 3 sizes. You can imagine that, right? Or you can just repeat phrases of loving kindness for yourself, like, may I be happy. May I be safe from inner and outer danger. May I be well in body and mind. May I be at peace and live at ease in this world. Silently whispering these phrases to yourself, keeping that hand over your heart if you want. So we'll do this for the next few moments, loving kindness for ourselves. And now finally, we can explore the limitless potential of the heart to practice this loving kindness for all beings in all directions. Whatever living beings there may be, excluding none, the great or the mighty, medium, short, or small, the seen and the unseen, those living near and far away, those born and to be born, may all beings be at ease. Wishing them loving kindness, wishing they do the things that cause happiness. Just go gangbusters, just go as far out as you can. Spreading upwards to the sky and downwards to the depths, outwards and unbounded. So we'll do this to end our meditation. Loving kindness for all beings. And just open your eyes when you're ready. And just take the next moment or two out in silence as you stretch your arms and you stretch your legs, keeping that mindfulness of loving kindness about you. Just take another 60 seconds and then go to questions or anything like that you might have. Any kind of question or comment that you have is fine. Okay. I needed that. I needed that kind of grounding. I mean, I meditated when I meditate all the time, but I meditated when I was, out of town. But I don't know. I think I needed to kind of reground myself here in San Diego. So I really just got back just a few hours ago. All right. So first of all, any questions on the instructions at all? Hopefully they were relatively straightforward, but if you have any questions, I'm certainly happy to answer them. Okay. So, I'm always interested to understand your experience of meditation. The great thing about meditation is your experience is different every time. If you really pay attention, your experience is different. It's something that might have been easier for you or more difficult for you, something that came up that was pleasant, unpleasant, surprising. For me, I was much more relaxed. I think I was much more grounded because I needed to be. And so, I was so relaxed, I even almost forgot one part of the meditation, like, oh, I'm feeling really relaxed. I'm not going to say anything, but no, I have to do that. We have to guide. Yeah, go ahead.
I found myself I found myself following the prompt wording while on my own sort of meditative journey.
Mm-hmm.
But with those words providing my brain, mind, and body the sort of foundation to, I guess, just let my experience be what it needed to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I found myself, I attempted to do the benefactor thing, and and it lasted it was very limited in duration. However, I was in a very zen state of mind where my focus was on all the different relationships in my life. And that's just with relationships with various behaviors of my own, or various relationships with myself, and with others as well, without being able to have one specific person. But it was kind of how do I say it was almost like a focus, like a generalized focus type of thing, and it was really cool.
Yeah.
And I see how my meditation practice has been very, like, not as fluid as it probably could be. But how, like, years of experience, of practice and everything, how much easier it is to be in where that's like a second nature, almost like state, and how much faster it is to fall into that. To where my breathing is almost happening without my awareness, but I'm aware, and I'm kind of just, it's really cool.
Yeah, those states certainly will happen. It's I think we have to kind of, I think when we get over the initial fear of meditation, like when we're new to meditation and we don't know how this is going to go, and we have lots of thoughts and they're very distracting and all that kind of stuff. But eventually we kind of get into some sort of groove. We get used to it. It's not so scary. We still maybe have thoughts, but you know what those are. And so they're not, they're distracting, but they're not horrible or scary or any of those different types of things. And, a lot of times what happens, it's really happened with me, is where you get to this place where the experience is just so kind of wild and cool, and whatever word you want to use is, where, I'm not going to be necessarily, I'm just going to like be in whatever that moment is, because I haven't experienced it before. It's really cool. And it's tempting for sure. But eventually we settle down, because these kind of the newness of these states, they get old. And, the Buddha was very clear about not getting caught up in specific experiences, to just do the practice, and whatever that is whatever that is. And then next time, just try to be more concentrated, more, more focused on doing the practice, whatever the practice is, and do that, so those experiences are cool. They're fine. They're interesting for sure.
I definitely do.
Yeah. I would say don't get attached to it. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting when the mind kind of first starts to really let go, what it does. Like when it happens for me, for sometimes I go into like problem solving mode, and I don't do it consciously. I just suddenly have the answers to my problems, or to various problems, and sometimes it happens a lot of times it happens in meditation, and it's hard to get myself out of that, because I'm solving all these problems and all these things are happening, and to say, that's not for sure. That's my new phrase. That's not for sure. And just get back and get focus on the meditation. That's a good stage that you're in, I think, for sure. Yes, go ahead.
I found it very interesting. I've never done this sort of meditation before, and how receptive I was to giving out the loving kindness, and how not receptive I was to getting it back. So that made me laugh. And then at the end, sending it out to everyone was shocking to me. How easily I did that, in the sense of, to everyone. And my mind went to these places of the worst of the worst of the I don't know what the worst of the worst is, but I'm like rapists and murderers and pedophiles, and I saw so many different things happening at the same time. I saw the perpetrator, and I saw the victim, and I saw the person being hurt, and the person it was like so many things at the same time, and I had this equal amount of love for both,
Hmm.
and it was I'm a little upset, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
But not in a bad way.
Don't feel bad about.
It's
don't-
a really good way, I'm like kind of confused.
Don't feel bad about any emotion here.
Oh, yeah.
All your emotions are perfectly fine.
It's a little jarring right now to
Yeah.
have that sort of
Mhm.
loving kindness and compassion
Yeah.
for everyone.
Yeah. You know what the most interesting part of that whole thing was? That whole thing that you just shared. Thank you for sharing that, by the way. That was so lovely and wonderful. Was that you just recognized that these things were what they were, and you recognized that it was easy to give it out. It wasn't really easy to do it for yourself, but you just had a laugh at it. That was probably the most important thing that you said. Because loving kindness for yourself is the most important. And I used to say this a lot worse a long time ago, because I used to believe some other people who said other things. But if you can have the experience of loving kindness in your own heart, if you know what that feels like, because this is an experiential practice. And so if you can experience that and you know what that feels like in your innermost being, and you can easily access that and have loving kindness for yourself, you would never harm another person.
Harm yourself.
Yeah. And compassion and all the other facets of these heart practices would come. There would be this sense of wisdom that would come with it. Because anybody can be compassionate, but so often we go off the deep end with our compassion by helping everybody and in every state, and we can't do it. We just drive ourselves kind of mad when we do that. And when we do that, we just kind of fall for the violence of our times when we do that. We kind of get caught. But if you can have that feeling of loving kindness, that's why it's so important. That's why if you can say something like, "Oh, I recognize it was really difficult, but I just had a laugh at it," makes the next time a little easier. Instead of saying, "Oh, I couldn't do it. I'm a failure. I'm a bad meditator." You're not a bad meditator. You're recognizing your conditioning, which is the same conditioning that everybody has here if you grew up in this country, right? People who don't hate themselves are a miracle. People who don't hate themselves that are our age are a miracle, right? And so eventually it happens. Eventually, little by little, even though it seems like you're wishing loving kindness to like a steel wall or a brick wall, a little bit gets in there, whether you know it or not. It always gets in there. It seeps through, little by little, and then it gets easier and easier and easier, and then more and more gets into your heart, and you feel so good. And your loving kindness is so much wiser than before, because you know where to direct it to. You know how to better direct it. You understand more, like this experience that you had, when you did it for all beings and kind of saw everybody and everything, So thank you again for sharing that. That was quite wonderful, and I really appreciate you sharing that. Did I say something? Oh my God. So Angelina said, twice during I got a jolt and I jerked. Oh, that's fine. You can show it. Let me show this. I don't know why I did that. Is that part of it? Well, I guess it can be. I mean, anything can be part of meditation. But I would always say, always try to retain about 25% of your attention on the breath, just to be as mindful of what you're doing as possible. But all sorts of things happen. All sorts of things happen in meditation. You don't have to really worry about why it happened when it's something like that. It just happened, and that's fine. If you ever ask me, this thing happened in meditation is normal, I'm pretty much always just going to say yes. Anyone else? How was everyone after the meditation? Is it all right? Did anybody have any difficulty with any part of the meditation? Like the loving kindness for yourself? Yeah, John?
I had a lot of difficulty only because just as I was leaving the house to come here, I confronted the situation. Got it all, whatever.
In a state.
What the description is. And only because I sometimes track it to try and lower it. Actually, my heart rate went up this entire meditation process instead of going down.
Yeah.
Which is weird, but not really considering what was.
Yeah.
And I kept trying to do the labeling, thinking.
Right.
And it was like no sooner than I said the word thinking, it came back. So it was just weird. But, life's not a whole cheers all the time.
And when it gets like that, well, one, when you leave the house, don't do that.
Right.
Don't set yourself up for suffering.
Well, I didn't plan on it. I walked out the door and confronted. But,
Don't do that next time.
okay.
So now you know. And if that ever happens to anybody, open your eyes. Stand up, stretch. Take a walk outside. Come back. Sit down. Try again. That is always okay, by the way. That is always perfectly okay to do that.
It's interesting how you said that you have been out of town and you really needed this.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I went out of town with sort of a specific intention, and I understand now that sometimes chasing after this symbol, as you told us about some stories of Buddha, where these people were like, "Where's the enlightenment? Where's the enlightenment? I need to find it. I need to find it." And he goes, "Oh no. Well, that kind of happened to me because I went on this retreat, I called it, and I thought for sure I can find my personal tree of enlightenment and meditate underneath it and all this stuff. And that didn't happen at all because, well, I had some conflicting agendas because I'm a photographer and I was running around taking pictures and I needed to be thinking. And so the notion of this like blissing out in the tree kind of didn't happen. But really now that I'm back and I look at the whole experience, it's like, no, it wasn't sitting under the tree. It was just being there. Yeah. I get it. Yeah. But thinking I was going to find this thing. I think it's just human nature. Sure. And then there's a little bit of suffering, like, what happened? I did it wrong. Oh, I gotta go back again, or whatever. No. I've learned just by even verbalizing this right now. But regardless of my retreat was really nice.
Awesome, I'm glad. All right, so thank you guys for coming. We have a couple of announcements, and then we'll dedicate Merritt and for the evening.
Hello, everyone. I'm tonight's host, Daryl. We opened Dharmavan Temple 15 years ago to introduce Buddhist practices to those who show up. Those who lead are not nuns, monks, gurus, masters, or teachers, and are not looking for students. They are simply practitioners sharing their interpretation of practice with others. Just about every night, we have different classes led by different people from various Buddhist traditions. We have a recovery sangha that meets several times a week for anyone battling addiction, drugs, alcohol, or anything else for that matter. A family sangha for parents, kids, toddlers, and teens, which is currently meeting once a month. And we also have a half-day silent retreat the first Saturday of the month with the RSVP required. Everything that we offer here is always free. The full schedule is on our website, and you also post it on the entryway above the shoe rack. We also have a lending library, so if you see a book and you like it, feel free to borrow it and bring it back whenever you're done. Please straighten your seats and your cushions out before you leave, and thank you, and we wish you well and hope to see you again.
Thank you, Daryl. All right, guys, let's join our palms together at our hearts. And may the benefit of this meditation, this discussion, be received by all beings in all directions. May all beings be free from suffering. May all beings be at peace. May all beings be joyful and at ease. May all beings be happy. May all beings be loved and seen for the beautiful, radiant beings that they are, that you are. Thank you for coming. All right, guys, we'll see you next time. Have a wonderful rest of your week. Bye. Bye, guys.